Welcome to Mondays with Coach Rice. It's a brand new week, the sun's shining bright. A chance to cast your net, step into the light. Life's full of challenges, it's a winding stream. But with Coach Rice, you'll find your dream.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Monday to everyone this morning. Welcome to Casting the Net with Coach Rice, where wisdom, faith, and transformation intersect. I'm your host, Coach Rice, your professional certified mental health life coach, trained counselor, speaker, and mentor. Remember, this podcast is designed to cast a wide net of inspiration, encouragement, and practical tools to help you thrive in your everyday life. We care about your mental health and well-being. So I just want to join me in welcoming my special guests. I got two on this morning. I called them before we got on the dynamic duo. Myla Lettries and Dakota Slayton, to a thought-provoking conversation about parental alienation. Okay, so we're going to get right into it, and I just want to, first of all, Dakota, I want you to introduce yourself and tell us where you're from and how do you define parental alienation?
My name is Dakota Slayton. I am 39, from Virginia, but I'm living in Georgia right now. And my definition of parental alienation is the removal of the importance of the other parents.
Okay. And Myla, same question. Where are you from and how do you define parental alienation?
Okay, hi, Myla Lettries. I'm from Houston, Texas, and I define parental alienation as the same thing: the removal of the other parent from the situation, and the manipulation of unjust emotions toward the other parent.
Okay. So, Dakota, tell the audience, how did you guys meet and this particular topic came up?
Well, the circumstances that we met under aren't the best, but we had a relatable factor in which our child, which is hers and mine, live in the same household as our ex. So the individual who is responsible for the alienation, they're both under the same roof. So I've been dealing with it for quite some time, and it's more recent for her, but she reached out on Facebook and asked a question that really hit home in regards to the communication, the relationship that I had, or the lack thereof, being established with my son.
And so the child that you have living under the roof of your ex-wife, is it all your children or just one?
It's just the one. He's my oldest, my firstborn.
Your firstborn, okay. All right. So Myla, tell us about, your experience with the fact that it's your ex-husband, correct? That's under that roof, and you have also a child under that same roof. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. So his ex and my ex are now married together. She used to be my best friend. Okay. That is how we came to this situation. Like, we were best friends, and I put my daughters into her ministry. And that's how she ended up running into my ex-husband, because we would swap out when it was time for us to exchange our child. And she was going to the dance school. So that is how they met, and that is how they got together. And that is what brought the situation up with parental alienation.
And she was your best friend?
Yes, she
wow.
was.
That's kind of deep. Now, how did this situation affect your mental health?
As far as the situation of her being my best friend, it didn't, because I just didn't, it just wasn't that deep for me with her being with my ex. I really didn't care. But when it came to my child, when I started to notice how there was a distance being drawn between us, there was the communication, started to change, and it affected my mental health really bad. I mean, there were days where I couldn't get up. I was so deep. I call it despair, hopelessness, because I didn't. It's not a natural situation. We usually don't hear about parental alienation from a woman's perspective. It's usually from the men, and which is not fair either way. But a lot of times, men don't get hurt because, it's with the stereotype. But for me, it affected my mental health bad. It made me question even where I was going for leadership at the time, because we were at the same ministry. So I couldn't even go to my leaders about the situation comfortably, even though they knew about it. It wasn't a secret. Um, I couldn't go to them comfortably. There was nobody I could turn to. So it affected my mental health, to the point where I'm still in therapy, you know. I couldn't get up. I had to have people pray me out of bed every day. Like call me and just like, you gotta get up, Myla. You cannot like let this take you out like this. It was the most, it affected my body physically, you know. It just threw me completely off because it's not a natural thing. It's not.
No, because you gave birth to this child. You have a different attachment to the child than the father because you carried the child in your womb, right? And I can't imagine my being alienated from my child. I can't imagine that what you could possibly go through with that. Both of you guys, I can't imagine. But I know from a woman's perspective, it's that, and I'm not saying men don't feel it either. And I'll get Dakota, I will ask you the same question in a minute, but just to give the audience some background as far as like making sure that they following us correctly, right? I just want to make sure that, I highlight a few things that you have said. Like one of the things that the question, you guys were all of you guys were in the same ministry, if I'm understanding what you're saying. Like Dakota and his wife and you and your husband.
No.
Okay, I just want to make sure that.
I'm the only factor that wasn't factored in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So she moved to Texas from Georgia, I think in 2018. I'm not sure, like somewhere around there. But when I met her was the end of 2019. That's when I met her on a prayer line, actually. So he wasn't in the picture. After
Who, Dakota wasn't in the picture then?
When it came to me, I had no idea
Okay.
who Dakota was. I reached out after dealing with this by myself. I thought, oh my gosh, what is he going through? Because they've been here for a long time. I couldn't imagine, like, what is he going through? Like I said, she was my friend, so I kind of knew of the dynamic, but not to this extent. I did not.
Okay. So when she was your best friend, Dakota, were you guys married then?
No, ma'am. Her and I would never marry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, were you guys dating then?
Yes, ma'am. That was really kind of the ultimatum that she gave me at like 22. It was either put a ring on my finger or I'm leaving.
Okay.
So I wasn't ready to get married at the time, so she left.
And how did that situation, Dakota, affect your mental health? If it had any effect on it at all?
It, it had a like detrimental effect on mental health because I was also dealing with legal matters at that time. So I was kind of bound to the state and I couldn't move how I would like to at that time. And by her removing herself and taking our child with her, I found out later on while dealing with legal matters that she put me on child support and changed my son's last name.
Wow. So you guys both got y'all children snatched literally out of your hands and away from your care.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, and it was so unfair because neither one of us are bad parents at all.
At all.
We have other children that we parent perfectly. We co-parent perfectly. And it's like, what was the reason of this abrupt snatch? It's just senseless. It was crazy.
So um you and your mate were co-parenting very well before your best friend came into the picture.
Absolutely. We were best friends. I've known this man for 20 years. We've been divorced since 2013, but we never had, we were a family. We still have mutual family. And when we divorced, we had no problems whatsoever. It was never an issue between us when it came to our child. We never argued about because it wasn't we didn't have the typical dynamics. There was no typical bitterness. Even after our divorce, we lived together, we co-parent together, we were best friends together. So there was never an issue between us. The issue came in when she came in, and the way that things went about, he turned on me because he thought that they thought I wasn't accepting the will of God because I wasn't on board with everything that was going on. And I honestly didn't care. I just wanted my child. The issue was when I noticed my child started turning away, you know, and I had to realize she was being manipulated from within. So one of the things that they say, what my daughter says to me is, this is the will of God. God don't care about feelings when he's doing something. And I don't want to align. I don't want to obey, stuff like that. So that was it was so abrupt and just, yeah.
So Dakota, with your child being there, is that the same influence that's under the roof? Like no communication with you.
Yes, ma'am. It's very difficult to communicate. My son, like I said, he'll be 17, and I don't know a child that's over 12 that doesn't have a cell phone or something that way they can communicate with their parents or something along those lines. But it feels like it's deliberately done to minimize the communication.
Wow. And you don't hear, I haven't heard about this happening too often unless, you hear children being taken away from their parents because the parents are unfit, right? This is a whole different thing, it sounds like. Did you guys Dakota, were you able to get any legal help with granting any type of.
No, ma'am. I went to, I'm on child support, so I went to the office, and as far as my rights go, they say everything is pertaining to Texas. I took a trip to legitimize my son, and it didn't show up for court. So therefore, I didn't be able to go through with it. But I came all the way from Georgia, and for you to reschedule something as if it's not that pertinent and important, then I feel like the system works for the woman. It benefits female in this scenario. Men really got their hands tied because I have no say so.
And so are you still paying child support?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my goodness.
Absolutely. She left when he was 2 years old. Put me on child support. I've been paying child support since he's been 2 years old. And that's 15 years coming up on his 17th birthday. And I believe I can count on my hand how many times I have seen him in person. And that involved me going out there to get him and me bringing him back.
And so you can't. Can you go see him and get him and bring him back now?
I went for his 16th birthday. My caseworker told me at 16 in Texas, they consider kids to be cognitive enough to make their own decision. So I flew out there, celebrated his birthday with him. I propositioned him that, you've been with your mom your entire life. And my lease was up, and my parents miss him just as much as I do. So they gave me the option of living with them for a year and allowing him to, obtain a room and me have a room. So that way we can build on our relationship as a whole, because he really doesn't know mine, like part of the family at all. And he declined it because he said he needed to consult with his mother. Anything in relation to a question that I ask him, it's always, Mama said, my mama said, Mama said. And I asked my son, at this age, you have to be able to make your own decisions because you're about to be an adult. You gotta, read through the things and figure out what's best for you. Your mom's not gonna always be there to hold your hand. But being as though his response was, my mom, my mom, my mom, I can tell that he's painted this negative picture of me in his mind to deter him from ever building a relationship with me or getting to know who I am.
And it's interesting because unfortunately, fathers, when they not at home when they not in the household with the child, often the father that's not in the home they don't have the same relationship that they could have. It's like an interference, and it interferes,
Absolutely.
unfortunately, where the child is affected as well as the adult. So, Dakota, tell me
Like my
how.
father is my superhero, and I feel like she removed the superhero out of the equation. So
Mm-hmm.
now that I am looked at in a different light, and you don't make me an importance in his life, if you remove him from school and now you're homeschooling him, you have a lot more freedom with your child to move during the summertime, during the holidays or whatever the case is. But I wasn't a pertinent enough factor to even be considered in any summer visits, any spring visits, any holiday, anything. And that's the issue that I really have, because if you want him to build a relationship with his father, you would make me primary when it comes time for him to have summer break or fall break or winter break. You'd reach out and contact or say, hey, what you got going on? Or, you mind if Khalid was come this way or whatever the case is. And I would always call to see like, hey, what's the plans for summer? I would like for him to come out this way. And she'd always say, oh, no, he's in the camp or he's doing this or he's doing that or he's doing that. So it just makes me irrelevant, pretty
Mm,
much.
wow. And both, it's interesting. Both of you guys are going through the same thing.
Yes,
Right.
ma'am.
And there's another dynamic in this situation too. They are in complete isolation. His son hadn't been in school since the sixth grade. He's supposed to be in the
Fifth
11th,
grade.
fifth
Fifth
grade.
grade.
My daughter
Wow.
was my daughter was removed from school in the eighth grade. They're both the same age. My daughter is like 10 days older than his son.
Mm-hmm.
So they are being deprived of education.
Deprived of their
Like
freedom of choice in life.
Wow.
deprived of everything. They don't get to experience anything. They have other siblings, and they have been torn away from their siblings as well.
I
And
got one picture of my two boys together, and that was when my son was born. I think he was like a week old. They haven't seen each other since, and my son is about to be 6.
Mm.
Amen.
and they actually use child support as a tool, because I've been on child support as well since my child was 3 years old when we divorced. Because when we divorced, me being the fair parent that I am, he was more stable at the time. So that's where my child went with her father. And we always had an agreement that when she was ready to come back home, she can come back home. And when she was ready to come back home, they did not let her because she did go through a phase of being sad or depressed because she wasn't in school. She did not want to be out of school.
Your
With
relationships with your friends and all the things like that. You just remove a child from that social environment and you make them antisocial.
You mean to tell so
absolutely.
there's nothing no lawyer can step in and do about this?
I have called several lawyers, even though like and because I called the lawyer, because I took the police over there, I didn't even know what they were living. God showed me in a dream. I got up and found out where they were living. So I took the police over there. I called, contacted many lawyers because of her age. They are saying that it's hard to prove parental alienation. And if we can prove it, by the time that we can prove it, she'll be 18. As far as her rights, because of Texas laws, they can homeschool their kids. They can teach the kids their ABCs in color all day, and there's nothing anyone can do about it because they can make their own curriculum. And you have to prove that they are not being taught anything, and that's kind of hard to do
Right.
when your state allows you to basically teach your child whatever curriculum you want to teach them. um, and because I went to the courts, because he actually took me back to court and had my child support tripled almost. So
Hmm.
it was like,
Wow.
and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that, because I've always paid child support. There's never been an issue. What
Issue.
I'm saying is that they're using it as a weapon. Like, oh, you
Yes.
want to talk? Okay, well,
That
let's
was
go
tit
back
for
to
tat. That's
yeah.
right. Tit
Oh,
for
you want to
tat.
see your child? Okay, let's go up on this child support.
And you still don't get to see them.
It's still like, so I did. They told, the police came over there and they told my ex-husband, look, because they asked why are you keeping her away from her mother?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, oh, because she told our daughter not to call her stepmom mom. And the police was in disbelief, like, are you serious? This is the reason? So they said, well, you can either let your child go with her mom or you coming with us. Like, they can't force you to make your child go, but you have to abide by this order. So
Mm-hmm.
they sent her with me. And when they did that, she was so like, she rebelled so hard.
Mm.
I mean, I was crying. I was at one point I was driving and crying and she was in the backseat laughing. She rebelled so hard. She said, Jesus came to separate daughter from mother. So you asking me why would God do this? I don't know why God will separate us, but I just know that he did. It is the it's the most horrific, wicked thing I've ever witnessed in my life. And I even tried to get our old pastor to mediate, and she completely went off on the pastor. And it just added another layer of, when these children come out of this, it's gonna have we're gonna it's gonna be so much work
Yeah.
to uproot everything, the doctrine, like the manipulation. It's gonna take so much. And I'm afraid, I really am afraid for them, like when they come to the realization of everything that was taken from them, you know.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
tough one.
I went out there for my son's 16th birthday, and Myla kind of showed us around the town, and we went out to eat, and we what was it, like Jack in the Box, something like that. And I asked my son, I'm like, what would you like? And we on the menu. He told me what he liked, and I was like, I like the same thing, and we got the same sauce, we got the same drink. He was like, man, it's like we the same person, and that ate me up so bad.
Mm.
They have this little thing they do, and I noticed it when we were in the car. Like Dakota will say something, and he'll mumble something real funny, like under his breath. And his son does the same thing. Like he'll say something, and he'll do a little mumble. And I think that is so cute. I was like, it's like the same person, you know. So no matter even how you try to separate children, they're still gonna have the characteristics of the other parent because that is their child, you know?
Right. And so, Myla, you have other children that's at home with you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And it's interesting that only one went. Dakota, your 6-year-old is not hers. Am I assuming that correctly, or is it?
Yes, ma'am. That's right. It's not hers.
Okay. And Myla, your other two do your other two belong to him?
No, they have a different dad. My
Okay.
first
Okay.
yeah, so that's their dad. But
Okay.
him and I would think that dynamic would be screwed up, but it's actually not. Like we co-parented just fine as well. We didn't break up on the best terms, but this is how I have always parented. I've never allowed how I felt about them to come in between the relationship of me and my children. Never. My children have never heard me say anything negative about their father. Not one of them can tell you that. They just knew that mommy and daddy is broke up. That's all they knew. And my older two children are able to build on their relationship. My 19-year-old lives with his dad now because he went to college. And he had to be on the bus line, and we stay too far out in the country. So he moved in with his father to go to college. It's always been a village. It has always been a village.
Mm.
With his mom, I actually co-parent real good with his mom. When him and I didn't see eye to eye, I still call his mama like she's mine. She even stepped in for my baby girl that is being alienated. She even called me about the situation, like, where is my grandbaby? I said, you know what? She was like, I don't like this, Myla. This ain't right. I said, I know. So it's affecting a lot of people. Like even in
Yeah, I
my own
see.
two children. She's
Yeah,
missing
especially
birthdays, she's missing holidays. Like you know.
we have a family reunion in July, and my family don't even know that's the oldest son at all.
Wow. That has to be devastating for you guys.
Devastating because this is my parents' first grandchild, and it's like you took that branch from my family tree and removed it as if like my lineage doesn't matter. And that's always been my big grievance is for you to change his name, you really made me insignificant to the point where I didn't exist.
Mm.
It's as if you had your child on your own. And
Wow.
I got a 6-year-old who goes with me every year to the reunion, and they know him so much better than they know my oldest son. And it's painstaking because there's a few people in the family, like my grandmother, who was there when Khalid was born, and she knows of Khalid, and she asked about him, and there's not an answer that I can give you because there's not even any communication in that department for
Hmm.
me to tell you what's going on to the point where why he's not here.
So, Dakota, how do you cope currently with that? It's almost like you got, if I could describe it and correct me if I'm wrong, it's almost like a hole in your heart.
Yes, yes, ma'am. I've had that hole for quite some time, and the only way to really cope with that is a callous. I've grown callous. I've grown cold to that aspect of, and like God had to paint the picture for me that it's not his fault that things are the way they are, and to continue to communicate with him, to continue to reach out with him, even if it falls on deaf ears or whatever the case is. Let him know that I love him, let him know that he's loved. And it's been plenty of sleepless nights, nights that cried because I didn't have the financial means to make things happen the way I would like for them to happen, and she wasn't forthcoming with her efforts to meet me halfway. It's more out of spite than anything. And I would think over time that spite would have dissipated. But man,
And have you
even
saw?
in finding even in finding you a new husband, I thought that would alleviate that the mysticism behind me and you being the perfect match, and allow me and my son to have a better relationship, because now your focus isn't so much on what we could have had, but what you have in front of you. And there hasn't been that at all. It's been even worse.
Wow. Now, have you
Like I
sought?
went out there
Have you
for
sought?
his
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I went out there for his 16th birthday, and I was gonna go pick him up. But I have a younger brother who lives like 15 minutes away from where my oldest son is. And when I told her that we was gonna come pick him up, she told me, "Oh no, you can't come. You can't come over here. You can't come by the house." I'm like, "What? Why would you not want your son's father to meet your husband? If he's living under your roof and it takes a village to raise a child, you would definitely want to introduce me to this man." And I wanted to meet that man, but she knows that she didn't want me to meet him.
Mm. So,
So I
have
felt some type of
you
way about that too.
have you sought out therapy in your situation?
No, ma'am. To be honest with you, I just had to go through it. I've been through it on my own. I had to go through the healing process on my own, and I really, I guess, confide in my youngest son, because I feel like God gave me another chance to redo what was taken away from me. So I find happiness in my youngest son. I spoil him. He's always with me. We do everything together. That's the only coping mechanism that I do.
Okay.
And that absence that she created for family has had me searching for that family unit for quite some time. And I believe that's why I built the relationships around women who already had kids, because I just wanted to feel like I just wanted to be a dad. I wanted to feel like a father. That was my aspiration. When my son was born, that was the most exciting day of my life. And it felt like it just got taken away from me.
Wow. And Myla, how do you cope?
Screaming, kicking, kicking over stuff, the occasional crash out here and there.
Yeah.
I think I take it, and Dakota, like when Dakota came in, I kind of felt a little better when we started communicating, because there was that "I'm not here alone" type thing. But I handled the situation horribly. Um, I still now I'm coping through my writing, but previously, um, it was crying. It was anger, a lot of anger. I had went through another. I was remarried. I had went through another divorce. Because of because of how I was just inconsolable, and I didn't even notice.
Mm.
It was like, okay, divorce again.
Nothing else mattered. Yeah, nothing else mattered at that
Nothing.
time.
You
It's
can't
like
focus on anything.
you
You
robbed
can't.
of your child. You can't.
It
It's
changed
like,
the whole trajectory of you guys' lives.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. I
Absolutely.
didn't even, and I didn't even want to write about it, because I didn't want to acknowledge the words I was writing. I didn't want that to be my story. Like,
Yeah,
I pride myself on being a mom. I love my kids.
me
Everything,
too, being a father.
yes, exactly. Everything that they do, we're there for our children. It's this is not like they're co-parenting with deadbeats. It's not the case at all. You
Mm.
know,
But that's
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 why,
the image that they would like to portray.
right. That's why it's this dynamic of God said this and we don't question God. That's why that conversation is being had, because
Wow.
have neither one of us have done anything to be taken away from my child. My belief
Alienated. Yeah.
So there's
always
a
have been,
religious undertone behind all of this.
Oh
absolutely.
yes. When Myla reached out to me, I had to have a conversation with her about God's will, because despite how you feel, you can't force what's right on someone. You're gonna have to allow them to see for themselves. And I told her that, like, our children are coming of age and they're cognitive in their own mind to see for themselves. Now, my situation may be a bit different because he's been conditioned from early on, and it's a lot more difficult to get him to open up. But I told her that in my situation, my son's gonna have to be removed from that household in order to get the veil removed from his eyes, because he can't see, he can't think for himself, he doesn't do anything without consulting with mom, and whatever mom says is golden. I told him, I asked him if he ever seen the Waterboy movie, because every time I asked him a question about what would you want to do in life, how you want to, what's the goals, your aspiration, he said, well, my mama said, my mama said this. And I'm like, son, there come a time when I was your age, like I was working, I had a job already, I was going to school, I was thinking about college, I was doing things to prep for my profession in life because I know which direction I was heading. And when it comes to him, he's just lost. He's lost.
Wow.
Like he's completely lost. I feel like my son's childhood was taken away because when she moved to Texas, she got heavy into the church. And despite what my son wanted to do in regards to playing sports or, being on the Boy Scout, whatever it was, it wasn't important enough, and it didn't fit the script for his mom's life. So that's why she took him out of school. That's why she moved the way that she did, because she needed him with her at all times. And as a teenager, my son didn't get to really do the sports and activities that he wanted because she used him as like a photographer. She used him as like a DJ for her own purposes. And then when she had another child, he's just a glorified babysitter now. But he didn't have a choice in anything in his life. And I want to get him out of that situation so that he could be what he wants to be and not what your mom wants to be.
Wow. My heart goes out to you guys because it's one thing for something to be taken from you, but it's another thing to feel totally helpless in it.
Completely helpless. Like your hands are tied behind your back with your feet, and you're all tied, and they got you. You're drowning, and there's no way you can come up. That's exactly what it feels like.
Wow.
The emotions, the emotions. It's like you have to grow cold to the emotions in order to be able to function on a daily basis.
To breathe. To breathe. You have to find some type of separation to breathe.
And I know
find some happiness in it.
And I know, Myla, I remember when I talked to you previously, you mentioned how writing your book, you changed the narrative of this story to cope with what was going on, even though you're still in the cusp of it.
Right. I had to. I think that was the best thing that I could have done. At the time to just that I had to.
You can't get to nobody. You gotta get it out.
Gotta get it out.
Nobody talk to about it.
So when Dakota, when Myla reached out to you, how did you feel about that call?
That's like she said. I felt like I wasn't going through this alone. I had someone to confide in. I had someone to talk to who was relatable, and I wasn't just by myself. Because prior to that, like I said, it's just been me coping with whatever emotions, whatever feelings I have. It is what it is, because the situation and the scenario wasn't changing despite any effort that I put in to do so.
What would you guys
So when
say?
she reached out to me, go ahead.
What would you guys say your greatest roadblock that's preventing you from getting your child back? Is it
Certainly
the laws?
the same person. Nope. the same individual who's best friend.
I think it's the mindset that has been instilled in our children.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
But
even above that, because I can say that I know that my child kind of rebelled to the conditioning at first because there was a little more, like she was in cheerleading, she was in dance, she was being snatched away. And as for Dakota, his child hadn't got a chance to experience that. All he knows is what his mom, says and does, or the way that his mom wants him to do. And I have been the witness of being there while she's using him to DJ for like three kids. So you DJing a party for three kids that you can't go to spend time with your father. And one of the things that she used to even say back then was, oh no, God said that we need a break because generational curses. Everybody got generational curses, baby. I mean, so I think my daughter kind of rebelled a little bit because she had a little slither of freedom. And then when they took her out of school, I still took my daughter to the dances with my oldest daughter because they only a year apart. So she was participating through my oldest daughter. Like she went to homecoming last year. She went to um, the football games and stuff like that. So she got a little taste of freedom, and of course they won't let me take him too, so he can get that experience. Even though he been my baby since we were friends, like that was my baby. So I think my daughter rebelled a little bit, but I believe our biggest roadblock, well, from my perspective, is the individual to some aspect, but it's mainly the mindset that they have instilled in our children. It's wow, it's wow.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
why.
and I
That's
mean that part concurred when she told me about a conversation she had with her daughter, and her daughter said that, "Oh, Khalid, that ain't nothing but a bum," and I said, that lets me know that inside of that household, you're painting such a derogatory picture of me
okay,
that that's why he doesn't want to even have anything to do with it.
right. And that's why when I ask the question, like how do you cope? What have you been in therapy? The only reason why I ask those questions is because a lot of resources that you may not be aware of are out here when you do seek that type of help sometimes. And
Gotcha.
and some we don't know what we don't know, right?
Yes, ma'am.
A lot of times we think we the some of the roadblocks may be financial, like it's gonna cost to go to court, and are we gonna meet the men, are we gonna get what we need, right, at the end of the day. And that's when you reach out and get the help you need. Therapists have resources like that to say, okay, you need to go take here's they have recommendations and stuff like that for stuff, like that, where you don't feel helpless in the situation, but you could where it's hopeful if at all possible, because there are resources. I'm not a lawyer, that's not my area, but there are resources out here that possibly can, I hope someone hear your story, or you guys find some type of help to even intervene on that, because it's, your children's still underage, correct?
Yes,
And
Yeah,
ma'am.
so
they got like a year and a half before they're 18, I think. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so just, like I said, I just pray that you guys find that peace in that area of getting the help you need to deal with it, because it's very, I know it's very complicated, especially when they paint a picture of how terrible you guys are. So,
Not there to defend yourself.
and
So they don't.
children, you know, they trust their parents, right? I don't know what
Absolutely.
religion they're in, but oh my God, I don't know a religion that would tear a family apart at that level. You know, that don't. It just
unless
sound
it's deemed completely necessary, you know,
right.
unless
I
like you
usually
said, the other
see that
parent's
in
completely
cases
unfit
where
or
it's
on
really
drugs or whatever the case is.
necessary to do that. It's sometimes it's necessary when
Hmm.
things are going on in the family that's harsh or something. But
Absolutely.
like I said, I pray that you guys reach out and find the resources that you guys need, and sometimes you find that when you go seek out therapy and stuff like that. Myla, I know you said you've been in therapy. You know,
Yes. And
have you?
I was told, so what I was told by a few lawyers was that it would be $7,000 to $15,000, and the best thing that they could do was make him stick to the order,
The order.
because the order that we already
The
have in
order
place
in
to
place.
enforce that, and maybe change that to make them put them back in school. But then there's a dynamic of how would that affect the child? Because they've been so far removed from the education system. They're only being taught Bible, math, and TikTok videos, So it's like, and then it's a corrupted, twisted, manipulative version of the Bible in which they are using to make us look bad. Um, they try to find evil in everything that we do. Is like weird. So I think that I just hope that God is really working right now.
Yeah,
Oh,
You
he
know,
working. He is working, man.
yeah,
He working.
yeah,
Definitely.
like to yeah.
yeah.
I I have I get a little breadcrumb every now and then because she used to leave little notes in my phone and take random pictures just out the blue. And every now and then, like I'll open up my notes and I'll see something that I've never seen before that she wrote in 2021. It's like, I love you, mommy. Or she'd be like taking a selfie in my phone and it'll just pop up like, little breadcrumbs here and there. Yeah.
Wow. And so, what would you each of you would like to leave with the audience?
It is. It's been a tough journey for me, but faith is the only thing that really brought me through because when there was nothing for me to hold on to, I had God. Because without that, we probably like Myla would have been crashed out somewhere or got violent or physical with someone because my hands just were so tied and I felt so helpless in the situation that just wanted to lash out. So hold strong to your faith.
Mm.
Because God is real. God is real. And he painted the picture to me that my son is coming. He's
Okay.
coming. So be patient. But that's why I
Okay.
say don't give up on him because after he declined to come stay with me, and I had talked to several uh like people who were raised in a broken home because my parents still married. All I've known is I see my parents every day, all day, and that's what I wanted for my kid. But she was used to a broken home, so it was easy to separate.
Okay.
But the individuals that I spoke with, who said if their dad would have did what I did in regards to their birthday, flew out, bought them everything that you like for yourself and this and that, and propositioned them to come live with them, they would have dove on the opportunity. But for him to decline it, it really put me in a bad headspace. And I didn't want to communicate. I didn't want to try. I didn't want to put the effort in anymore after all this time. But I had to pray. And when I got back, and God said, don't give up on him because he's coming. Coming on.
Dakota, I commend you for allowing faith to really help you in that area, and your efforts of not giving up, because it happens too often to fathers more so than anything, where their children are in the home with the mom and the mom always win, right? And
Yeah.
unfortunately they have the last say unless unless the lawyer and you had the resources to gain that and prove. It's a lot to prove when they with their mom. So your situation is very a little
One-sided.
harder to navigate.
Absolutely.
because I see it too often where the fathers are left without any say so, and
Just
the
remove it.
picture that's painted for him with the child often tears the relationship apart, and it affects both parties, the child and the father. But ultimately, at the end of the day, a fatherless son is not a good thing, you know. And
Absolutely.
unfortunately, I hate to see that happen, but it does happen too often to our to the men in the boys' lives. They need their fathers, but often torn apart because of things that doesn't matter.
The resentment from the
The
mom.
resentment for the
Yeah.
mom and things that
Absolutely.
but not selfishness of the mom. Yeah. So, what
Things
about you?
unrelated to the child, basically.
Yeah, it's sad.
Hmm.
It's sad. It really is really sad that it's happening. So I pray all the time that you know when you could co-parent very well for in honor of the child. So it'd be you know to the best of the child, in honor of the child. My cry
Yeah.
out, please
Best
get out of
benefit.
your own way and
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
help these kids get what they need. It there's no benefit to putting in your child's head that a negative thing because it didn't work out. The relationship didn't work out has nothing to do with the child. It has everything
Nothing
to
to do.
do with you guys didn't work out. So let's co-parent together. And that's what needed to be done because we need to think about our children more so than ourselves. So that's my cry
That,
out for
that's
men
yeah.
is that women
That was the
step up
prayer.
and not put their children, not play their children as a pawn.
Oh, and that's what this was, a complete game of chess, and the child was a pawn.
Yeah.
And that's what
Absolutely.
the prayer was when I came back, when I was in that bad headspace. I prayed, and God said, remove yourself out the way. He said, step out of yourself and not see what it is that you desire, but what your son needs.
Yeah.
So I had to remove myself and my feelings and the way everything to focus on the bigger picture of necessity.
Yeah, don't give up. If
Oh
he
no,
showed you that, hold on to his unchanging hand.
I am.
And so, Myla, what would you like to say to our audience?
So leave these people children alone. Like, um, listen, I've never. Okay, this is both of our kids, and a child needs two parents to be born. As a custodial parent, if you are in a situation where you need to separate, but only because of adult reasons, not because of the children or something that was being done to the child, none of that. It is your responsibility as a custodial parent to protect the bond between the child and the other parent. It is your responsibility as a custodial parent to protect the bond between the child and the other parent. And I'm saying this from both perspectives because I am a custodial parent as well. And I did everything in my power to protect that bond. And it wasn't nothing I had to do to protect it because I wasn't doing anything to discourage it.
That's right.
So my children have an awesome, wonderful relationship with their father and their paternal side of the family. They love him. There's no issues. Even his new wife that came in the picture, we good. We have no problems. We're adults. And that's what adults need to be able to do. And that is like Dakota said, this was a game of chess. What was
Mm-hmm.
going on was they were trying to make me bow down because there was no issues between me and my child.
Mm-mm.
So I'm gonna make you bow down one way or another. You're gonna accept this one way or another because the issue we battle not against flesh and blood, but against powers, principalities. This is spiritual wickedness in high places. That's what this is. See, we think it's in the world. Spiritual wickedness in high places, that's not talking about the world. Because the Bible actually says heavenly places, spiritual wickedness in heavenly places. So we have to really have discernment about who we let into our ear gate, who we come into agreement with. Like we need to have those things. And if you are co-parenting and you like just leave kids alone. We have a mutual
Yeah,
child.
leave the kids out of it. Yeah.
I've always felt like I have no authority or no right to have like affect anything between my children and their father. Never. Never. You know, it took both of us to make this child. As adults, we sit down and we make decisions and we decide how those decisions go. There's nobody rule that should outweigh the other. We should have to learn how to come together.
Yes.
And create that space for our child to be happy, healthy, and get what they need from both parents.
Yes, because it takes a village.
It takes a village.
Well, I thank you guys for coming on and sharing your story. And I pray that, I would love for you to let us know in the future, what the outcome is. And, unfortunately, to feel alienated from your child is one of the hardest things that any parent can go through, whether it's a mother or father. I can't imagine that happening. And I'm sure other people that have experienced this in their life can relate to what's happening. But these are things that's happening in the world that's affecting the trajectory of our lives and our children's lives. And I think that it's important that we recognize the fight between adults should never impinge upon a child. So thank you so much for coming on, sharing. I will put the links if anyone want to reach out and talk to you guys about it, or anybody have any suggestions or resources they can put. Hopefully you guys can comment on it. But I just want to thank you guys for coming on. It's been a blessing to share such a traumatic event in your life. I don't take it for granted, but thank you guys for sharing. It means a lot to the audience. It means a lot to you guys, and it's, as well as myself. I keep you guys definitely, in my prayers, and, reach out. I'm here if you guys need to talk. But I just want to let you know that, we appreciate you, and, and what an inspiring story to see you guys, really, working this out and being that support to one another. So thank you. And to my audience, I just want to thank you for listening. And if you heard anything on here that really resonated with you, or that anything about this situation as far as like parental alienation, please drop a comment. And if you feel like someone need to hear it, I ask that you share it, and and subscribe to the channel if you feel it's needed, because your mental health and well-being is very important. And so I just wanted to just thank you so much for listening, and we're signing off.
We'll heal every heart, so join us now. Let's make life suffice. Welcome to Mondays with Coach Rice.